Thank you, everyone. Wow, there's a lot of people here. So I'm going to tell a message that I received back when I was 42 years old that transformed my life at the time and still is a reference and guide for me now. So let me take you back to the spring of 1995. And, I was a dad. Actually, my wife's here. We had two boys, 5 and 7. And I was a very successful software salesman. And my wife was having a lot of success with her consulting business. So like a lot of folks, I felt like I was getting way out of shape and not doing the exercise that I needed to do. So we had a old school Nordic track, if you know what that is. That kind of you practice your cross country skiing. And I was doing that for a couple weeks, and I could only get up to like 8 minutes. And then I felt like I was winded, and I was getting this, stitch in my side. And I think, man, have I let myself go? So, I kept trying that, but I couldn't get past like 8 or 9 minutes. So my job took me down to a conference in Washington, D.C. And, what I did a lot of times when I did travel, I would go out at night and take a long walk to get my exercise. And I was walking around D.C., and, I was getting this winded stitch in my side again. And I thought, I had to sit down on a bench. I said, this is really weird. I got to get back in shape. And the next day, the conference was over, and I'm carrying my luggage to my parked car, and I had to put the bag down and just wait there until this winded stitch in my side went away. So I, packed up, went home. And then that Saturday, I'm out doing kind of the springtime thing of putting mulch on the flower beds. And again, I got that stitch in my side, and I'd sit down a little bit, and it would go away. I was, all right, let's start doing it again. And then it came back again, and I sat down, and it, went away. And then, a couple times later, it happened again, and it wasn't going away. And I'm thinking, this is not just being out of shape. This is something serious. So I decided to go to the ER. So it's a Saturday. I get to the ER, and, you go into the ER with kind of chest stuff going. You go right back. So that's a pointer if you're ever going to the ER. So, they do an EKG, and they said, oh, we got to keep you here and keep me here for the weekend. So, and we're probably going to do a stress test on Monday because they don't do them on the weekend so obviously there was something wrong there. So that night, it was like really late. I had missed dinner. So they said, hey, are you hungry? I said, sure, get me something from the cafeteria. So they brought me a very heart-healthy cheeseburger and fries. And if I was smart, I wouldn't have eaten it, but I think I did. So Sunday, I had visitors come in, and then after all the visitors left, I'm watching TV, and it's the Flyers versus the Rangers, and I'm not I'm a very intense sports fan, and anytime the Flyers weren't playing well, I could see on the monitor, my heart rate went up, and I thought, I should turn it off, but nah, I wasn't that smart. So then come Monday, I did was my scheduled stress test, and the technician came in. There wasn't a doctor there with her, and I'm doing the stress test again, like 8 minutes. I had to stop, and I'm saying, well, how did I do? How did I do? And she said, well, you got to wait for the doctor. And I'm like, I don't have to wait for the doctor. I know there's something seriously wrong here. So then later that Monday, the doc comes in and said, oh, yeah, we see that you have a blockage in your heart. We know exactly where it is. And so we're going to schedule you for an angioplasty, which probably is a little catheter with a balloon, put it in your artery, smash all the blockage against the walls. And they said, oh, piece of cake, you'll be in there, you got to, you'll rest a little bit, and then you'll be out the same day. So they had to move me from Chester County to Bryn Mawr because Bryn Mawr had heart surgery, which you need to have when you do an angioplasty. So, I go into the to Bryn Mawr, and they take me back, and the room is really cold, and they sedate me pretty heavily to the point where I still know what's going on. I'm kind of in la la land, but I'm still not asleep. So, things seems to be going along really well. And then all of a sudden, I hear that famous medical term called "oh shit," and I and I knew that that was not a good sign. So the doc said, your artery tore. We got to do emergency bypass, and that was it. So I went off, and let me see the red lights on. So I went off, and I. So if you know, during bypass, they cool down your body and stop your heart and have a machine that pumps your blood. So the first thing that I remember, the dream I had was that I was outside and there was this all glass building, and I walked inside, and on the left was all the glass, and on the right was rose-colored quartz. And I would be walking down the hall, and all I could do was make right turns. And I kept making right turns, and as I made the right turns, it kept getting darker and colder, and I became more and more afraid. So I came and I passed this room, and the room was all dark, no furniture, and I think there was a door on the far side, but I kept going, and it kept getting colder, darker, and I became more fearful. And then I came to the end of the hallway, and there was a black curtain, and the curtain opened up, and there was a white sphere of light. And I knew at that moment that that was God, and everything was going to be fine. So afterwards, I came out and I thought, geez, what's wrong with this picture? I'm 42, double bypass. I want to be a dad, a husband, a brother, and a son. And so I really need to change a whole lot of stuff in my life. And so that's what I did. And literally, I felt like that surgery literally opened my heart, literally and figuratively, to the way I wanted to be as a person. Thank you.